Brand. My artist name is Beaka. It's something new I've developed over the last year or so, which is heavily influenced by the UK bass scene, really, taking combinations of many genres that have been, I suppose, kind of pinnacle to what the UK is about, but also the developments that have happened sort of post dubstep and integrating that with sort of older house sounds and elements of techno and a bit of garage as well, trying to bring bits across. And I think that's what's so good about the UK bass scene, and a scene that I just feel is very vibrant in the minute, and something that I've been able to latch into and sort of find a little, I suppose, a home for myself. I think it's quite diverse as well. That's one of the big appeals about it, is it's not so formulaic as some of those genres can be in their own. But by taking elements of all of that and putting it together, you have more freedom in that, in your own production. Of course, from an early age, musical parents and all. My mother was a big fan of the kind of hippie movement in the 60s, and a lot of my earlier influences were bands like the Grateful Dead and artists like that. I began off playing kind of classical instruments and then moved on to drums. I found I was enjoying making more of a noise, I think, at that point. I played in bands for a few years, but I found the enthusiasm and the vibe of playing with other people was enjoyable, but the commitment of other people was difficult sometimes to manage. And when you're relying on other people, sometimes it can be a double-edged sword, can't it? You can have good points and you can have points where you feel that maybe things aren't going as well as you'd like, and that kind of made me think or rethink what I was about as a musician. I kind of discovered the use of kind of electronic machinery to kind of support what I was doing, so I was able to program bits along with what I was playing, and from there it grew, and then I just wanted to buy more kit, and I just set myself up and locked myself away, and I had no, at that stage there was no focus as such. I wasn't trying to make a certain sound or anything like that. I was just having fun with making music, and I think that was very important to me when I look back at it all. Whereas now, sometimes I feel that we can get very focused in trying to become like somebody else, and I think we lose some of that innovation. Okay, one of my first things, which is still one of my pride and joys, is my TB-303. It's a sort of classic, originally designed by Roland to allow kind of guitarists to play accompanying bass parts too. But if you've ever heard the TB-303, it doesn't really sound like a sort of bass instrument as such. It's kind of the birth of everything to do with acid and acid house. And it wasn't sort of integrated in terms of MIDI at that point as well. So I was using sort of Kenton breakout boxes to kind of sync that in with my Atari and making music through there. I then bought some sort of kind of quite cheap sequencers as well to kind of just to kind of keep the sort of the enthusiasm and the vibe going that I was enjoying at the time. A Yamaha RM1X, I remember. It was very limited, but I think, again, it's one of the things I try and encourage my students to do, is limit yourself at some point. When we're inundated with different plugins or presets, we can just spend hours trawling through, the vast wilderness of sonic arrays of sounds and things, and perhaps not be as creative with a limited amount of things. Which I think that was what it was doing for me. I didn't have much there, but it meant I thought about what I was doing with the equipment a bit more, which was key. Having started the Beaka persona, I kind of moved away from the Oli Brand. Before was a kind of much more of a main room techno kind of sound that I had going. And as I say, being influenced by the UK bass stuff, or what was happening at the time, people like Troy Gunner, who was actually a student of mine at the time, and it's lovely to be able to have influence from your students. I think that's a wonderful thing about the job I do here at DBS. And Troy Gunner and people like Cornwall, that was kind of sort of Liam Blackwell and Indigo and Synchro, and those artists who were showing that you could have freedom. And so the Beaka sound was kind of influenced by that, in a way, that freedom. And it was also to do with a kind of a moving from Bristol down to Cornwall, and I found the environment I was in was also had a big impact on what I was doing. I think the kind of, the Bristol scene, very industrial techno I was doing before, and down here it's much more melodic and spacious, and more of a kind of interesting soundscape as well. The music kind of has two elements to it in a way. It has the sort of the club sound that it works in that environment, but it also works in a kind of in your own kind of listening environment as well. You know, sort of headphones moment and kind of experiencing that sound at home. You know, the new persona I was able to sort of release, I think, a few shackles there, and I think the first EP that I've done is you know, and I think the reviews have sort of echoed this, that it has, even on the 4 tracks that it's got, each one is quite different from the other, and I think that Beaka persona for me allowed me to do that. It gave me that bit of freedom. It also means that, you know, whatever I put out, I don't feel it has to be, you know, tailored to suit anybody as well. I think that there are enough labels now that are clever enough to understand, you know, that there is a real scene for that sort of stuff, that I don't feel like I need to badge it for a label as well anymore. I think I can just make music, and there are people out there that are forward thinking enough to sort of pick it up and roll with it. Since the EP's gone out, the feedback I've had from kind of, you know, magazine reviews in Japan, back home to kind of Europe and across to South America has been so positive. DJ Mag gave it sort of, you know, 9 out of 10, which I was, you know, incredibly pleased with, considering, as I say, the sort of diversity of the EP and maybe not being able to pigeonhole it as such. I did a kind of freebie as well to sort of throw it out there to get people's to lock in to the EP, which has gone out on Accelerator as a free down at Beaka Entry Unknown. So, you know, worthwhile going and checking that out and picking it up for free.